Oh, yes, running back 2, quarterback 2, taken care of today in free agency.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, here we go, everybody. It is a Tuesday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. Matt Dery with you, Locked On Lions for a Tuesday, March 10th into Wednesday, March 11th, day 2 of NFL free agency. Thanks for being with us, making us your first listen, as always, and thank you to our everyday listeners that are out there. We love our everydayers, and we want you to join our Locked On Lions Everydayer Club. We'll tell you about that coming up. A lot to get into today, for sure. Including me making sure that I put the right graphic up for our YouTube fans. Yes. Apologies. Here we go. We got to get into Isiah Pacheco. Yes. The Lions have a new running back too. Teddy Two Gloves is back. Whee! Oh, 33-year-old Teddy Bridgewater. Back for what? His third stint with the Lions. Here we go. Bridgewater back. Rocky Scene is back. Rodrigo is back. Where's my Rodrigo t-shirt? But I have a question about the defense and starters. We'll get into that coming up momentarily here on Locked On Lions. And also Khalif Raymond leaving us to go join the Benedict Bears. All of that today right here on a Tuesday Locked On Lions. We appreciate you being with us. Don't forget to check us out on all social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you need to find us, we are there. All right, let's start with the biggest news of the day, and that is that the Lions, yes, early today, around about 1 o'clock or so, went out and found a replacement, or at least a candidate for the replacement, for David Montgomery at running back 2, signing former Chiefs running back Isiah Pacheco to a 1-year deal. I've not seen the money yet on the Pacheco deal. I'm looking right now. We have not seen the money yet on this Pacheco deal, but Isiah Pacheco is a 27-year-old running back. Remember, was a 7th-round pick about 4 or 5 years ago with the Chiefs and came out of nowhere in 2022 and 2023 to have monster years for Kansas City as a 7th-round pick. He runs hard. The legs are always chugging and churning. And this was a guy a few years ago that really made a name for himself in Kansas City. But then in 2024, he broke his leg, his fibula. He came back last season and just did not have a very good year. Also had an MCL injury in his knee mid-season last year. It was so bad for Pacheco at the end of the year with the Chiefs that in week 17, Pacheco sat for rest. And you kind of saw that his days were going to be numbered in Kansas City. Now, the metrics are not very good. Al Karsten from prideofdetroit.com, who normally lauds Brad Holmes for his work in free agency and the draft, Al put up on Twitter some pretty ugly numbers where Isiah Pacheco, out of like 49 eligible running backs, finished 44th in this stat, 46th in that stat. His numbers went way down. He was a near 1,000-yard rusher his first 2 years in the league. And then it just has not been the same guy since the broken leg 2 years ago. And the Chiefs obviously have upgraded. They went out and got Kenneth Walker, and Pacheco hit free agency. He's a little bit undersized. He's not as big of a back as David Montgomery. You know, am I going to sit here and tell you that I hate this move? No. I think there are some better options when you're talking about running back 2, but I also believe that it is not a lock that Isiah Pacheco is the number 2 back. And that maybe a guy like Sione Vaki could overtake him at some point. It's a 1-year deal. We haven't even seen the money. It could be really low money because of the injuries. And because of the fact that this past year, he really, really regressed in Kansas City. Now, again, their offensive line regressed. Their whole offense was bad. But, you know, as pointed out by Warren Sharp from Sharp Football, Chiefs saw a lot of light boxes. Teams were almost saying, go ahead and run. We're going to play the pass and back up off the line of scrimmage. And Pacheco still struggled in yards per carry, struggled between the tackles, was taken out in goal-to-go situations. Isiah Pacheco was not in the game in goal-to-go situations this year. Kareem Hunt was. The one positive with Pacheco, he's a very good pass blocker, a high PFF pass blocking grade. But this is a guy on a one-year deal that the Lions are hoping can have a bounce-back season in 2026 and back up Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, ironically enough, and we'll do a little Brad Holmes old bit siren alert here. This is a Brad Holmes injury signing. We know a lot of good things. There are a lot of good things about Brad Holmes and what he has done to build this football team. All right. I'm not going to be a Brad Holmes basher and, he needs to go and the free agency sucks. No. Tell me a better GM that the Lions have ever had. You can't. With that being said, one thing Brad does enjoy is bringing in injured players. Ennis Rakestraw had an injury history in college. So did Broderick Martin. So did Levi Onwuzurike. So did Josh Paschal. Lions have signed players in free agency that have had some injury issues. Marcus Davenport. Okay. Isiah Pacheco, the last 2 years, has been ransacked with leg injuries. But now he is a member of your Honolulu Blue and Silver Gladiators on a one-year deal. All right. And now this. Late this afternoon, this evening, as I'm recording a little bit later than usual, the Lions have signed and have found their new backup quarterback. Yesterday, Kyle Allen leaving the Leos to sign a 2-year deal with the Buffalo Bills, reunited with Joe Brady, reunited with Josh Allen, and Kyle Allen is now gone and is not going to be the Lions' backup quarterback. So what does Detroit do? They went out this evening and signed the legend himself. Remember when he wore number 50? Teddy Bridgewater. The Lions backup from 2 years ago in 2023. Then you recall in 2024, he basically retired from football to become a high school coach. He won a state championship down in Florida, in Miami, and at his old high school, Miami Northwestern. And then at the end of the year, came back with like 2 weeks to go in the season and took Hendon Hooker's spot as the backup quarterback and played, dressed for 3 games with the Lions in 2024. Last year, he signed pretty early in free agency to be the backup in Tampa Bay behind Baker Mayfield. And now Teddy Bridgewater has committed to return to the Lions to be their backup quarterback here in 2025. So Vikings, Jets, Saints, Panthers, Broncos, Dolphins, Lions, Bucks, now Lions again for the 33-year-old, well-traveled, but very well-liked in the locker room and well-respected Teddy Bridgewater as the backup. This has can I be honest with you? This is my favorite move in free agency so far. This is my favorite move, the backup quarterback. And with the way Jared Goff has been the last few years, he hasn't really had to come out of games. He was woozy when he got cheap shotted in the playoff game against the Commanders, and Teddy Bridgewater took a few snaps in that game before Goff came back in. I love this move. I think this is an upgrade from last year. Teddy Bridgewater is a good quarterback, and he's a good backup, and I think that'll help Jared Goff. I think that'll help the offense. He's 33, got plenty of tread still left on the tires. This has been my favorite signing. Teddy Two Gloves returning as the backup quarterback. So you got your running back 2 in Pacheco. You got your quarterback 2 in Bridgewater on day 2. Here's my question, which we will do coming up next. Are they going to address any starters on a defense that was pretty shaky at the end of last season? Because right now, who's the starter at edge rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson? Right now, who is the starter at linebacker in the middle now that Alex Anzalone is gone? Who would start at safety if Kirby Joseph can't play? And who is replacing Amik Robertson as your starting nickel cornerback? We may have an answer on that, which I will get to coming up next, but I don't believe the Lions have addressed the defense enough here in free agency, or They're going to wait on day 3 or day 4 or day 5 and sign somebody to a 1-year deal that thought they were getting a lot more money earlier in the process, like an Al-Qadim Muhammad, bringing him back, or an AJ Epinesa, or somebody of that ilk. We'll get into that coming up next right here on Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions today brought to you by TurboTax. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to TurboTax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. All right, saw some new folks on our Locked On Lions Everydayer Discord today. The chat was hopping, and you can join our Everydayer Club right now, and you can do so for the next 5 days for free. Free agency is here, so are we. You get 1 month free of our Everydayer Club with code FREEAGENCY. No spaces, all one word, now through March 15th. Go ad free for the show. All right, you don't have to hear the ads. Keep the conversation going on our Locked On Lions Everydayer Club Discord. Join the club now at lockedonlions.supercast.com. That's lockedonlions.supercast.com. Want to see more newbies? Want to see some new folks? We got a couple. My guy Drew Nickel, Caribou Drew. That's right. Mr. Kilt himself. He's now a member of our Everydayer Club. All right. I got to ask the question. And for those of you watching on YouTube, you can see it on our graphic. What about the defense? General Manager Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, Ray Agnew, Chris Spielman, everybody in the front office. Maybe they know something we don't know. But this team has holes on its defense. And maybe, just maybe, over the next couple of days, we're going to see more additions on the cheap on defense for the Lions. But they've got holes there, and they just haven't filled them. We talked about yesterday. Cade Mays needed a center, got a center. Larry Borum, they needed some tackle depth. He was there. They got him. Isiah Pacheco needed a running back too. They got him. Teddy Bridgewater needed a quarterback too. They got him. But defensively, what are the Lions thinking when it comes to replacing Muhammad if he leaves, Robertson who's gone, Alex Anzalone who's gone? Now, maybe in their minds, the Lions are thinking about Malcolm Rodriguez as a stopgap or maybe as a starter again. Rodrigo has returned. He is inking a 1-year deal to come back and play for the Lions. I love Malcolm Rodriguez. We all love Rodrigo. The Rodriguez cult, a great personality, great in the locker room, great on special teams. I don't think he's a starter. I don't think he's your replacement for Alex Anzalone. But he is back. Also, the Lions have brought back Rock Ya-Sin. I like this pickup, or I like this retention move, as he is signing a 1-year reported $4 million deal to return as an extra corner for Detroit. Rock had a really bad career in Indianapolis as a former second-round pick and was kind of a bust. He went to San Francisco and got better. And this past year with the Lions, he played well. In a backup role, in a fill-in role, Rock Ya-Sin helped his cause. But he's back on another 1-year kind of prove-it deal. So, like I said before, there are plenty of edge rushers out there. This is what's interesting, is the edge market is pretty packed with names right now. And guys that I know the Bears signed Contavious Street today, so he comes off the market. But other than that, Al-Qadim Muhammad is still out there. I mentioned before AJ Epinesa from the Bills, who a lot of people think, and the former Iowa Hawkeye, could be a target for Detroit. those are the types of names that remain out there at the edge spot. Joey Bosa is available. I don't know if that's somebody that you want or thinking about, but, he is available. I didn't mention this yesterday. I think we probably recorded before this news broke from yesterday. Roy Lopez going to the Cardinals, 2 years, $10.5 million is a loss for this team. You want to look at the most consistent defensive tackle that played this past season on a 9-8 football team that was a disappointment, and it was Roy Lopez. Now, you can't retain everybody. You can't keep everybody. Maybe the Lions weren't willing to go 2 years with him. He returns to Arizona, but he played well. And the guys on the interior of that defensive line were very disappointing last year. Not named Roy Lopez. Tyleik Williams was a first-round pick. There were games you didn't even know he was out there. He was fine. Aleem McNeil struggled coming back from the torn ACL. And hopefully, with a training camp, an entire healthy offseason, we can see the Aleem McNeil that we saw in the Tampa game last year and that we saw in 2024. Levi Onwuzurike, that's anybody's guess. Josh Paschal, anybody's guess on what those guys are going to provide as far as defensive tackles. Now, DJ Reader has not been signed yet. I'm not anticipating the Lions bringing him back, but the defense needs work. And look, I get it. Some of you are probably screaming at your TVs right now or your computers or you're in your car. Matt, what about the draft? I get it. And the Lions have a first, a second, 2 fourths, 2 fifths, 2 sixths, and a seventh. The Lions have a lot of picks in this draft. And if that's where Brad Holmes is going to butter his bread and have a killer draft like he had in 2023 and all of that, I'm down. 2022, to quote Hunky Tone from Seinfeld, I'm down. Mark me down. That's where the Lions are going to have to do the business here, is in the draft. If they're looking for a right tackle and they want to move Sewell to the left side, Larry Borum to me is not the answer. Giovanni Manu to me is not the answer. Those are depth pieces. You draft a tackle at 17, there will be good ones there. If Proctor from Alabama is somehow there at 17, maybe he's the guy. All right. Again, Lions have a lot of picks. I mentioned that before. They don't have a third rounder because they traded it last year to get Isaac Tesla. They got multiple picks in the 4th, 5th, 6th, all of that. One, of course, coming over in the David Montgomery trade, and they get a 5th round pick as a compensation pick for losing Kevin Zeitler last year. So multiple picks there and an opportunity for the Lions to add to that depth. And like I said, I didn't expect them to hit a whole bunch of home runs in free agency, but I did expect after 2 days to be talking about some defensive starters that may have been added. That has not happened yet. And there's plenty of time. There's plenty of guys out there. I mentioned before. So we'll have to wait and see. But so far it's been a little bit quiet on that front, and I am concerned about the defense. I love the fact they got their center. All right. Cade Mays, will he be good or not? It's a definite upgrade. And yes, I'm well aware. The Lions got to retain Jahmyr Gibbs, Brian Branch, Sam Laporta, Jack Campbell. Their philosophy has always been, and my good friend Ken Brown from WJR and the Mitch Albom Show, I saw Kenny today, and I told Kenny, you're always the voice of reason on Twitter, my man. He's like, relax, man. I listen to Locked On Lions. Kenny listens. Appreciate him. Appreciate Anthony Bellino as well from JR. And I saw Lomas today. Dan, what's up, Dan? I saw Lomas. But Kenny will always say, KB will always say that the Lions, their philosophy is always draft, develop, and re-sign. And I know you can't keep everybody, especially if you decide to dip your toe into free agency. All right. But I think some of us thought, especially when you look at a team like the Commanders, all right, Washington, their defense was booty cakes last year. And they went out and got 4 starters in free agency. The Commanders, Odafe Owe, Leo Chenal, Tim Settle, and Amik Robertson. an edge, a linebacker, a D tackle, and of course, a Meek at corner. Will it work? I don't know. It worked for the Patriots last year. Raiders are throwing stupid money at people. The money the Raiders are throwing, they threw at Linderbaum and some of these others is insane. The Raiders signing Quay Walker and giving him $40 million over 3 years, or whatever it was stupid. Quay Walker's no good. I did see Romeo Doubs leaving the Packers. Where did Romeo Doubs sign? Romeo Doubs. Oh, man. Just signed with the Patriots. Yeah. And I heard when he signed his contract, he dropped the pen. Ba-dum-bum. All right. Yeah. If Romeo Doubs just catches that onside kick, the Packers beat the Bears. And that playoff game would have been in Green Bay, right? Wasn't that the regular season game? Come on, Romeo. Catch the ball. All right. Coming up next, Benedict does it again. And I'm predicting he's not done. We'll explain right here on Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions for today, brought to you by our friends at the good old FanDuel. That's right. College basketball is here nonstop. March Madness. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. Now, FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your read. You can mix spreads, totals, player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. How about tonight? UDM, go Titans. Titans are back in the Horizon League championship game, taking on Raider Nation tonight, right, State? Got to root in our Titans tonight. So happy for what's going on down at Callahan Hall and Titan territory. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Hey, what's up, Matt? Good to see Lomas tonight. I was at a WJR and a DFCU event. Shout out to the Lions fan legend, somebody that knows football like nobody's business, the great Kristen Shaoni, for the invite to this JR event tonight that I ran into a bunch of those folks. All right, I have a concern, and I think it's going to happen, but I'm not 100% sure. Will Ben Johnson, the head coach of the Chicago Bears, will he do the unthinkable? And that is bring in Taylor Decker to the Bears. Touchdown Bears. Will he do it? Today, he took the first step in planting that seed because the great Khalif Raymond, Lions punt returner to the Stars, a guy that has been with the Lions the last 5 years, a Dan Campbell favorite, has signed in Chicago. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Lions are losing this great football player. Khalif Raymond is a great dude. Awesome in the locker room. Was really good for 5 years returning punts. As a third and fourth receiver, did a good job. But now, the Lions have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Isaac Tesla. I think they believe in Dominic Lovett, the 7th round pick from last year. Tom Kennedy showed flashes last year that he could do some good things. So I think the Lions felt like they could let Raymond walk, and they want to see more of Tesla. Last year as a rookie, did a good job, but they traded 3 third-round picks to get him. He's not going to sit behind Khalif Raymond, but Raymond has to go to the Bears. Seriously? You just knew Ben Johnson was going to go pilfer some of the Lions guys. You just kind of knew it was happening. And the biggest thing right now with Detroit and Chicago, number one, I truly believe that somehow Taylor Decker ends up with the Bears. I know they re-up Braxton Jones to a 1-year deal, but it wouldn't surprise me if Decker ended up with Ben Johnson. We're 2 days in now, and Decker remains unsigned. And number two, there is a big fish still out there. And I didn't even bring up his name when we talked about edge rushers because he's not coming to Detroit. I don't see it. Unless he takes some one-year deal, Trey Hendrickson is still out there. And there's a lot of talk in Chicago about the Bears being interested in him. So, again, that's a wait-and-see situation. I'm stunned that we are 2 days into free agency, and we have not seen Trey Hendrickson come off the board. A little bit surprising. By the way, I mentioned before Quay Walker to the Raiders. 3 years, $40.5 million. And Nakobe Dean got 3 years and $36 million. The Raiders are giving two off-the-ball linebackers that kind of coin. And by the way, the Bears signing Devin Bush, like I know Devin Bush is famous for cleating the turf in East Lansing when he was at Michigan. He had a really good year this past year for the Browns, but I don't like that signing at all. Devin Bush was terrible in Pittsburgh. Terrible. Now, again, maybe because he was with Jim Schwartz in Cleveland, he had a renaissance year this past year. It's possible. But the Bears giving him $10 million over 3 years, where they gave up Tremaine Edmonds for a little bit more money. Edmonds, to me, is a better football player. But let's keep an eye on this whole Bears thing and how many more Lions guys they pilfer away. It's possible. Ben Johnson has familiarity with these folks. Same thing. Remember when the Lions hired Dan Campbell and he grabbed Anzalone from the Saints and Davenport and Jamal Williams and others. So, oh, man. All right. This is day 2 of free agency. We will have day 3 tomorrow right here on Locked On Lions. Thank you, everybody, for making us your first listen. Please join our Everydayer Club free for the first month for the next 5 days. LockedOnLions.supercast.com. We're back again on Wednesday.